So here's what it sounds like driving in my Jeep, and this is what it sounds like driving in the Tesla. This is my 3-month review of the 2020 Tesla Model Y with 100,000 miles on it. In my case, I bought from a dealership and it was only sitting there for a week, but when you buy a used Tesla, all of the history gets wiped after the original owner sells it. So after buying it, I was just hoping that I didn't buy a lemon, and so far, it hasn't really been that bad. Now, I bought this car because I've wanted one for a long time, and I'm also really annoyed with California's gas prices. But after 4 months of daily use, I just have a few thoughts that I want to share about it. Now, let's talk about the interior. When I was first shopping around for a Tesla, I was looking at the Model 3. One of the Teslas that I was looking at, the sun had completely destroyed the steering wheel and some of the side panels. But the interior of this car is solid. Even with 100,000 miles, the seats and trim are in excellent condition. You'd hardly notice that the car has aged at all. Now, there is one issue with this car, but it's not related to the age of it, and it just has to do with all Teslas and car seats. The seat buckle on Teslas is recessed, and it took my son a good month to just figure out how to buckle himself in. It's not a huge deal, but it's something to be aware of. The interior of this car just looks clean. There are a few issues here and there, but nothing that you would really notice unless you're really looking closely. So audio is not going to be a big change if you buy like a used Tesla. Any car that's used, the audio is pretty much going to sound like how it was when it was new, unless somebody has really just blasted the audio. But the audio in this car, I just want to mention it because it's absolutely amazing. I've never had a car with such premium sound. And I also want to mention the display. The display in this car, it feels brand new. There's no yellowing at all like some other older Teslas I've seen. And I'm not sure if it's been replaced, but it looks practically new. And I know newer Model Y versions have better noise isolation, but honestly, I haven't noticed much noise from outside. The only thing that I wish it had is a trunk cover to cut down on noise from things shifting in the back. And then another thing is the air conditioning. If you are blasting it, it is going to make the interior sound a little bit noisier. And it's not like that on other gas vehicles, but you also have the engine noise on gas vehicles. So if you're blasting the AC at all, it's a little bit noisy. Now let's move on to the exterior. So I would say for the most part, it's held up really well. There aren't any major issues. There are a couple panel gaps, but nothing too crazy. Now the black paint is still in great condition with just 2 or 3 small scratches that I've noticed. And there is a tiny dent in the back, but the black paint makes it less visible. And honestly, it just looks like a new car. As for upgrades, I've only made 2 major changes. First, I had to replace the wireless charging mat because the original one was missing a small tab that holds the phone underneath. And I picked up an aftermarket wireless charger for $7 on eBay. And it actually charges better than the original charger. Plus it adds a USB port for Sentry mode. So for $7, I think that's a win-win. Now the other upgrade is these matte black wheel covers from EV Base. Now EV Base sent me these wheel covers free of charge to replace my Gemini hubcaps, and I'm actually really impressed. Unlike the factory wheel covers, these ones cover the full rim, so you don't get curb rash, and they're actually more efficient. Now, I was skeptical about the efficiency of these wheel covers, but I was watching some other reviewers who tested these on highway speeds, and they found that it would actually add around 10 miles of range to each charge. So then I tested this as well, and I was surprised to notice that they are indeed more efficient than the Gemini wheel covers on just back roads around my house. And, you know, for a long time, I was tempted to buy Tesla's induction rims. And while they look great, you lose around 30 miles of range. So in theory, these rim covers by EV Base would actually increase your range by like 40 miles. And I think that's pretty cool for hubcaps that look identical to the induction rims. And that's why I think they're a solid upgrade for anyone looking to upgrade their Gemini wheel covers. And if you are interested in these wheel covers, I will leave a link in the description below. Now let's talk about full self-driving. So my car didn't come with full self-driving, but I've been using the subscription for the past months. It's like $100 a month. And at first I didn't really use it that much, but after the recent update, it's gotten a whole lot better. I would say I probably use it around 50% of the time. So 80% of the time, I would say that it's doing its job. It works really well. The only gripes I have are how it fully stops at stop signs. And I think that's just because it's annoying the drivers behind me. But I understand that it has to fully stop to follow the laws. Now, the other issue I have with it is the software glitch where I can't adjust the speed. And I used to be able to do this before. I don't know why it changed. So sometimes it just goes over the speed limit by 5 miles per hour, which is really annoying, and I can't figure out a way to change it at all. And there have been a few other minor issues where I've just had to take control, but that's why it's still considered supervised self-driving, and I think that's kind of what it is. You have to make sure it's doing everything right, especially in tricky situations. If you're just on the highway or if you're behind another car, it usually does everything fine, but there are some situations where it's gonna just act terrible. The other cool thing about full self-driving is the new Smart Summon feature called Actual Smart Summon. It's perfect for picking you up in a parking lot, but I'm still just too nervous and embarrassed to use it that I just don't. Now, I have used it to just back my car out of a parking space so I don't have to do it on my own, which I think is really cool. But I usually don't have it pick me up. I also like that I can just pull my car in and out of the garage with the summon feature, which you had this feature before, but it works a little bit better now. But I really wish it would just park on public roads. For right now, for some reason, it won't do that. The last thing I love about full self-driving is the ability to park by just backing into any parking space. This is a relatively new feature, and I initially thought this was like so amazing, but I would say I use it a lot less now because I can usually just park a lot quicker by doing it on my own. And sometimes if there's any cars behind me, it's gonna take extra time for Tesla's full self-driving to do it for me, and so I usually just do it on my own. So I would say overall, it's not perfect, but full self-driving is getting there. If you haven't tried it yet, I would recommend it at least for a month. All right, so let's get into the cons. So living in Sacramento, the glass roof really heats up the car. I haven't bought any of those sunroof covers yet, but it's something I'm going to have to consider. One day I was just driving the car. It was like 105 degrees outside, and I couldn't even cool down the car with the air conditioning. So definitely gonna have to get sunroof covers next year. Another downside of having the Model Y is the 19-inch wheels. So they look pretty sick, but they're not as comfortable as the 16-inch wheels on my Honda HR-V. And you can always change the tires out, but don't expect a huge difference in comfort unless you change the tire size. Now, the worst con of all, the worst issue that I'm having with this car is the left wheel, for some reason, is making this clanking sound when I'm driving it at low speeds. And apparently, it's a common Tesla issue. And while Tesla says it's nothing to worry about, it's one thing that annoys me the most. And eventually, I'll have to see if I can get a legit way to fix it. But for now, it's just kind of driving me crazy. And the last con that I want to talk about is range loss. So right now at 80% charge, I'm getting around 220 miles, which is about an 8% range loss overall. And that's not terrible. I don't think it's a huge deal, but it's something to keep in mind if you're considering buying a used Tesla, or even if you're buying a new Tesla. Like, I know Tesla advertises that you can buy a car with 326 miles of range right now, but you're really only getting 261 miles if you're charging to 80%, which is recommended by Tesla. And then just keep in mind that you're probably gonna lose about 10 miles of range every year you have the car. Now, I bought this Tesla for $25,000, and I got the federal used EV tax credit, which took another $4,000 off. So this car was $21,000, but after tax, it came out to be $23,000. And my insurance premium is about $100 a month, and that's with a used Tesla. And that's about double what I was paying for my Honda HR-V. And I've searched for the cheapest deal for insurance, and it seems that Tesla's insurance policy, if you live in California, is the cheapest. It beats Geico, it's better than Progressive, and also USAA, which was surprising. So while I'm saving on gas, my insurance is actually higher. So I would say overall, it's not a huge savings. And I also have the full self-driving subscription for $100 a month, which is not saving me much money at all. But for now, I'm kind of enjoying it. So now, do I miss driving my gas car? I actually have a second gas car, which is a 2003 Jeep Wrangler. And I love driving it. The only problem is that it gets 14 miles per gallon, and also I have a family, and fitting 2 car seats in the back is next to impossible. If gas was free, I'd probably drive the Wrangler more than the Tesla, but honestly, I would say that both these cars are my dream cars, and I really like driving both. Okay, so after having this car for 4 months, I would say for the most part, it's like exceeded my expectations. I think it's an awesome car. But if gasoline was cheaper and also wasn't so harmful to the environment, I would probably love driving my Jeep even more. All right, guys, so I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like videos like this, don't forget to subscribe. I will see you in the next one, and I hope you have a great day.